Hey, everybody, it's Tony George along with Griffin Murphy right there, that good-looking young cat there in Chicago, Illinois today. I'm in Kansas City, and we're bringing you the Gridiron six-pack courtesy of Doc Sports. 3 college plays, 3 NFL plays against the spread. I believe we did a 50-50 split last week, Griff.
Yep.
See if we can get over the hump here. We're still sitting at 500 on the year, which is okay, but, you know, expectations are high. The bar is high. Before we get to this week's games, we got some marquee games for you, folks. A lot of carnage last week in college football, Griff. I mean, Texas, surprising, but Penn State, shocking.
Yeah. Penn State more shocking than anything I think that we've seen all season long, Tony. I mean, going in and losing outright, and that's back-to-back losses. But this is the same stuff we see out of this team. Obviously, now it's no longer the big game with James Franklin. Now they're losing games to teams that they should be beating the living hell out of. And again, it stems back to Drew Allar as well. Not sold on him at the quarterback spot. People have high expectations for him as a Heisman candidate. Not for me whatsoever. I have not seen anything out of him that really raises my eyebrows of impressment. So, Tony, a lot of whompers, I would say, most definitely this weekend in college football and in the NFL.
Well, I had a good week last week in college and needed it. Had a big top play on the Navy Air Force over. May have a college game of the year this Saturday. I've got one I really like. We're taping this on Wednesday. I got to watch that line movement. I think odds makers, it's not a totally under the radar game, but it's not a marquee game. But I'm worried that odds makers may figure out they got a weak line between now and release time on Thursday. Now let's get to this week's action. And it's interesting that we're talked about Penn State. It's a nice segue into the Alabama on the road at Missouri. Bama opened up as a 5.5-point favorite, and people pounded Missouri down to right now it's -3, total 51.5. But Prabula, the quarterback from Missouri, the transfer from Penn State, 75% completion rate, 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns against 3 picks. He's having a better year than Allar.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I'm sure some people at Penn State are scratching their head about a lot of the coaching decisions and personnel decisions at Penn State. And I'm not a big Penn State fan, so I like to see them wallow in mediocrity. You know, I don't mind that at all. But nonetheless, Alabama, how would you like to have this schedule? 2 weeks ago, they played Georgia. Then they have a big game against a very good Vandy team in revenge mode. Now they got to go on the road, play Missouri, and next week they got Tennessee. There's not a team in college football that wants that schedule. Welcome to the SEC. And speaking of the SEC, outside of Georgia and Alabama, over the past 4 years, Missouri is right up there in the top 3 with those two in wins in the SEC. They got a great coach. Now Bama's owned them 5-0 straight up, 4-1 against the spread. The last 5 years against Missouri. Interesting note here. On the road under DeBoer, Alabama is 2-5 straight up. And 4 of those 5 losses were against unranked teams, including Vance. Speaking of big upsets, I don't think the Vandy was it was shocking, but not as shocking as Penn State.
Sure.
But that was the biggest shocker of last year, probably, in Penn State this year. So far, it ain't over yet. Somebody liable to come up and beat Ohio State 42-7. Who knows? You know, but nonetheless here, Bama on the road, Missouri, at home, +3, 51.5. And Griffin, just so you know, I'm going to this game.
Are you? All right, there you
Yeah.
go. That's a game.
2 hours south, baby. Come on.
I love it, man. Well, this is going to be a hell of a game, that's for damn sure. And obviously, we have Missouri rolling into this matchup at home, perfect in this sequence. And then Alabama 4-1 on the season. But for Bama, as you mentioned, I mean, they're coming off of 2 massive wins, beating Georgia on the road outright, and then coming back and beating Vanderbilt in their most recent matchup. And Missouri, on the other hand, yeah, as I mentioned, 5-0, but they have not been battle tested yet this season by any caliber teams. Their toughest matchup this season, I want to say, came against a South Carolina team, which
Kansas.
Kansas is in the mix, and Kansas is a little bit of a sleeper. They're not that big honcho name right now when it comes to college football, but towards the end of the season, this is a team that we have talked about previously that is gaining ground right now. So I will say that, Kansas for sure. But right now with Bama, Simpson really stepped up class at that quarterback spot. This kid has accelerated throughout the entire season. He's not necessarily a dual threat quarterback, but this kid could really use his legs when he needs to. And the biggest thing for me in this matchup is Bama needs to establish the run game early on early downs, because how they thrive this season is the big play, the deep ball. So if they can get this thing to 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, situations like that on the offensive side of the ball, that opens up those explosive plays for Bama in this sequence. Again, Missouri, as you mentioned, phenomenal quarterback. He's dual threat. This kid's faster than shit, and this kid could launch the ball. So in this matchup, I'm not discrediting Missouri whatsoever. I believe their offense can sustain. I believe their defense is going to sustain in this matchup. But this line, as you mentioned, Tony, opened up at 5.5. Some books have it at 3. Some have it at 2.5. I'm drilling Bama here on the money line. The value in this matchup is on Bama. -155, because we're going to get a lot of take out of this. Missouri, as I mentioned, their schedule hasn't been that tough. They're entering the meat grinder now. Once they deal with Bama for the next 5-6 weeks, they have all SEC and Big Ten matchups, and it is not going to be easy for them. So this is a great eye test for everybody. This is not a game you want to hammer your wad on. Scout Missouri in this matchup, because after this factor, we're going to know a lot more about this team going on to these bigger matchups throughout the season. We already know Bama, they're established and they can win the big game. They've done it twice in a row. So in this sequence, give me Bama on the money line, and look out for Missouri going into these next few weeks. But let's shift gears here. I like Bama on the money line, -155. Anything from 2.5 under, drill them money line. Anything over 3, I would fade the game. But let's shift gears, Tony. Let's go to this game, a game I actually had my 7-unit premium on Saturday. We've got TCU rolling into Kansas State. Total sitting at 56.5. TCU lane 1 on the road here. Kansas State coming off a massive game last week. They lost that matchup to Baylor. They did cover the spread, though. Avery Johnson coming off a 340-yard game with 2 touchdowns. I'm sold on Kansas State's offense. The problem for me is defense. Now TCU 4-1 on the year, 28th in the nation when it comes to offensive points per game. Tony, very interested to see what your thoughts are. And can this Kansas State defense slow down this offense here with TCU?
Well, I told you last week on your 7-unit play, Griffin and I talk. Usually we consult on Thursday mornings, and then I usually will call up and say, okay, who's your 7-unit on? And he had Kansas State over Baylor, which, I had circled and put out as a free play lean. But interesting about Kansas State now, this is a do or die game for them.
Yeah.
This is it. This is their season. Now, I've been down to the Little Apple, Aggieville, Manhattan, Kansas, 15 times, maybe more, especially back in the day when I was living in Lincoln. I've driven over to a couple games when they played Texas, and one a couple of years ago went to the Iowa State game there. Brock Purdy was playing for Iowa State.
Mm-hmm. I was there.
Very, very difficult place to play. That being said, and the other thing I said, in Kansas State's 4 losses, they've lost by a total combined number. All those losses they've had combined are by 13 points. And they overlooked Army. They just looked past Army. Army was coming off a loss against Tarleton State. How are you going to get your team up for Army when they just lost to an FBS school? Well, we're going to kill them. We're at home. No. And Avery Johnson, until last week, had looked like shit all year long.
Yeah.
He was not dialed in. He was dialed in last week. TCU, impressive, offensive juggernaut. Kansas State is going to have to trade punches. Give me over 56.5. I don't know if Kansas State sitting at +1 can beat them. I think TCU is a better team. Sonny Dykes, great coach. Offensive mind. Kleinman knows he doesn't have a defense this year. He's going to have to, they got to go in there with the mindset, we're going to trade punches. Could be last guy with the ball wins. In that scenario, good weather here over the weekend coming. I kind of did a look ahead on Manhattan's about 3 hours west here of Kansas City. Going to be good weather all weekend, so not going to have any cold, blustery, windy, winds expected around 5 to 8 miles an hour. That's not going to affect anything. So I'll take the over TCU K-State. Ought to be a great football game to watch, Griff. I'm looking forward to taping it because I'm going to be gone down there watching Bama, and I'm going to wear my Nebraska shirt to the Missouri.
Start war.
I'm starting some shit early on. Nonetheless, we'll switch gears. Speaking of old Big 12 days, nice little tilt here in the Big 12 coming up here between Arizona State and Utah. But I did want to mention the above link right there. We'll give you a free $60. If you've never been a member of Doc Sports, we'll park it in any new account. Comes with a profit guarantee and zero hassles. Put it towards a weekend package. Griff's hot. I'm steady. Big play in college. NFL 10-4, my last 14. We're good to go this weekend. Obviously, we're carrying through. We got Major League Baseball playoffs. The WNBA finals might be over by Saturday, but nonetheless, we got Major League Baseball and the NHL is here.
Yep.
So there you go. We're ready for the NHL. I'll probably start putting picks out over the weekend. I usually let it shake out 4 or 5 days to kind of see what happens. And, based on what I saw on opening night on Tuesday, I'm going to wait a few days.
Yeah. Are you kidding me, Rangers?
I'm going to wait a few days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they got friggin' blanked.
3-0. You kidding me?
I almost said the F word.
It's all right.
Yeah. But nonetheless, Arizona State, last year's Big 12 champion, on the road at Utah. Utah laying 6, total 48. Now, Utah, that loss they had, and I know the beginning of the year, you and I on the same day were both on Utah in that Texas Tech game.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Come to find out, that actually wasn't a bad loss because Texas Tech, along with Miami right now, those are the top 2 teams in the country.
Agreed.
I don't know what you guys out there in TV land are looking at, but Texas Tech is no friggin' joke. They spent more money in the portal than anybody last year, and they are stacked, and they dominate people on the offensive and defensive line, and they got playmakers and tacklers and they got them all over the place.
Yeah.
And you saw that on display against Utah. Matter of fact, I remember Griffin calling me up going, "Hey, Tony, what the F is going on here?" I said, "Dude, they're getting throttled." But at the end of the day, we find out that Texas Tech's going to do that to a lot of people.
Yes.
And Arizona State, interesting. Their last 4 games have all gone under. They missed Cam Scattaboo. I can tell you that.
No shit.
Utah at home, tough home field, little bit of elevation, total 48. Utah, little less than a touchdown favorite right now, Griff.
Yeah, Tony, this game has huge implications and momentum, definitely displaying both of these teams coming in 4-1 on the season and coming off bye weeks. So we could definitely expect explosiveness out of both of these 2 teams. Rolling into this, though, Utah, they've owned ASU at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Their last 3 games straight up, they've beat them all 3, and they've won 4 of their last 5 there. So that has been dominant for them. ASU this season, they've had issues on the defensive side. and that is allowing 320 yards on average against, which is a problem. Utah, they're not only a dominant force on the defensive side this year, they have climbed tremendously on the offensive side of the ball from the 2024 season. Core talent against core talent in a sequence like this, Utah has the better team when it comes to quarterback position, offensive line, wide receivers. They do have a better team, but there's a lot of ways that you can look at this game. And ASU's, their plan of attack needs to be to keep Utah's offense off the field. If ASU gets bullied around on the defensive side, they're not going to have enough depth to sustain this game against the Utes in my eyes. I believe this is going to be one of those games that lands on a critical situation, whether that being a special teams mistake, a pick six, a massive turnover. That's how I see this game going. I believe this is going to be a drag-out game. ASU can most definitely hang with Utah's offense on the offensive side. Defense is where I have a little bit of question marks, but that is why this line is posted at 6. This is one of those games to me, Tony, where I see Utah leading the game the entire sequence going into the fourth quarter, and then you catch one of those backdoor hooks, the unexpected. And that's what I see happening here, just based off of this number and total with ASU. They have a very strong poised offense. They're very good and disciplined, and they're not a team that beats themselves up with penalties. So I like ASU here, and I believe this is going to be a one-possession, one-drive type of game that benefits in ASU's favor. So, Tony, in this one, give me the Sun Devils here +6 over the Utah Utes. I believe they get it done at Rice-Eccles. I'm not calling the outright winner, but I do believe they get the spread cover here at +6 with that offense, Tony. But let's shift on gears here. Let's get on to the NFL. We've got the Chargers rolling into Miami, play the Dolphins. Dolphins catching 4 at home. We have a total sitting at 43, and I have to say right off the bat, I do not love this line. It seems very off to me. We're aware that Miami, they can score points on anybody offensively. They've been doing it. I mean, they've been putting points up in their most recent matchup they did against the Bills. I mean, we've seen it even with Tyreek Hill out right now. The other flip of the coin, the Chargers, they're not playing the greatest football that I expected. And Herbert, he's a very good quarterback, and I've kind of expected more out of him, especially when they displayed in week 2 of football, beating the Chiefs outright on a primetime game. So in a game like this, Chargers laying 4 on the road, Tony, I'm very interested to hear your take on this one.
Well, I don't think they should be laying 4 on the road to anybody. They got their top 2 running backs out. Both their tackles are out this week. John Alt's not coming back. Now they lost their right tackle. You saw that last week. They couldn't do anything offensively. At home against Washington, who Washington has a middle-of-the-road defense. Greg Roman should be able to call enough plays to put up more than 10 points on Washington, especially at home. Ideal conditions, not like they're in the weather, rain, cold, wind, nothing. They couldn't do jack crap. I was shocked. And sorry, everybody, I had Chargers as a free play. I thought they could cover that 3. And Jaden Daniels coming back off his first, off injury.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to they weren't going to risk him. They were going to let him run it 10 or 12 times and stand back in the pocket and take licks and possibly hurt that knee again. Miami, on the other hand, wow. Wow. How you blew a 17-point lead against Carolina. Now, Carolina, we're going to talk about them in a minute. But Carolina, I'll give them this. They're sneaky good at home. Remember, they throttled Atlanta in there 30-0. And Atlanta probably is going to be a playoff team. Yeah. They're not going to win that division now the way Tampa's playing, but they're so Carolina, we'll talk about that in a second, but at day's end here, the only thing the Chargers can rely on is their defense. That's why I like the under 43. I think both teams are going to struggle to either one gets 20 in this game. I really do. If I had to take a side, it'd be Miami, and I definitely stick Miami in a teaser. Get them up to +10 because, you never put a lot of stock in to what you see week to week in the NFL, but some things kind of remain the same. And Miami's just a bad football team.
Yeah.
And Chargers, other than one game this year, have really struggled offensively. They started to run the ball a lot. Then Najee Harris goes down. Then Greg Roman gives Herbert the ball and says, throw it 35 times this game. And he completes about 80% of his passes, look like a stud. The next week they abandon it and they go back to the run. And now the other running back gets hurt. So now what are you going to do offensively? That's kind of why I don't know what their identity is. We kind of thought, you and I talked about this in some of the preseason stuff we did. We know Harbaugh. I'm going to run the ball. I'm going to play good defense, just like I did at Michigan. That's all I'm going to do. That's why I didn't know if McCarthy was ever going to be a good NFL quarterback. We still don't know. The son of a bitch is hurt all the time, but they didn't ask a lot out of him in college in terms of throwing the football and having the games on his shoulders. All he did was turn around and hand off to Blake Corum.
Yep.
They won a national title doing it. But at day's end here, I think this will be an under game and a tight one, and that'll bring points into play. I'd use Miami and teaser, but my official play would be under 43. Switching gears, we brought it up. Carolina taking on Dallas. How bad are the Jets? Because Dallas was missing 3 offensive line starters and put up 24 points in one half on the road at New York. And they actually played decent defense, but bear in mind, it was New York.
Right.
But on the road, usually, if you can hold the team under 24 points, you've had a good day. That's just how it works in the NFL. Carolina, on the other hand, they go into beast mode at home. I'll give them that. They shut out Atlanta, who was healthier on offense in that game than what Dallas is in this game.
Yeah.
Just FYI. They also overcame a 17-point deficit last week and beat Miami. In here, they're catching 3.5, total 43 there at home, Griff.
Tony, this is a real weird game for me because, we don't know what to expect out of Carolina. Week in, week out, you see something different out of this team every single week, and you don't know if Bryce Young's going to come to play or if he's going to come to play like shit. It's something different with this team every single week. But for Dallas, we know one thing for sure. Even with the loss of CeeDee Lamb, this offense is still continuing to produce points. Meanwhile, Carolina, they might not be as bad as we thought they were, but look, there's a lot of incentives that I'm looking at this game. So Carolina catching 3.5 points at home. That tells us there's a hook in play. We have a total sitting at 49.5, which is kind of high in a sequence like this. But for Dallas, they put up 40 points 2 weeks ago against Green Bay offensively, and then they just hung 37 points up on the Jets last week. Carolina's offense, they have been rolling, and they just won outright, put up 27 points in that victory. So this has traps written all over it in my eyes. Obviously, Dallas, they could have won this total alone 2 weeks ago, putting up 40 points and then 37 last week. Everybody in the right mind is going to be drilling the over in this game. And for that reason, I am on the reverse flip. I'm on the under 49.5 points. I believe we're going to see defensive strengths. I believe Carolina's one strength that they have on the defensive side, their biggest strength, is defending the pass in the secondary. So if they can shut down Dak, well, this offense is limited. And on top of that, they're already limited at the wide receiver spot with Pickens being their go-to guy and Lamb out. So in a game like this, Tony, nothing to overthink, nothing to overanalyze. I am going with the under 49.5 points in this matchup on a public fade reverse flip. So rolling into that, but last but not least, Tony, we got the teaser, and that is between Denver and Indy. What do we got?
We've only got one loss in the teaser department all year long.
Mm-hmm. I've been riding them all week or all year.
Yep. And this one here, this may be on the premium card. You really need to pick and choose your spots. What the best free play you're going to get this weekend on this show is me telling you that you need to pick and choose your spots wisely this Sunday. And I think Griffin would agree with me. This is a very tricky board this Sunday in the NFL. Mm-hmm. You can expect the unexpected. It's that time of year. How unexpected is it? Out of the 17,000 guys that entered the Circus Survivor contest and put up $1,000 each, 75% of them are out in after week 5. Now, the LA Rams last week and the Arizona
Dude.
Cardinals. What a clown show that was. What
I was on the Titans.
I don't even know.
I was on the Titans, dude.
It just so everybody thinks this job is easy. Yeah, I go out to Vegas and take a piss in the tall wheat with the big dogs. I'll throw down $1,000 and show Griffin Murphy and Tony George and Scott Spreitzer and all these guys out there that I could be a handicapper too. And all I got to do is pick a game. I don't even have to have a spread involved. I'm going to be that good in size with no spread. That's how hard the NFL is. So bear that in mind this weekend. A couple of no-brainers in my mind. Denver, fresh off a win. I believe you had them last Sunday. Griff, did you have Denver last week?
I pulled them off my card last minute. I still slept, but I pulled Denver off the card.
Oh, I know you told me you were going to take Denver. I was just like,
I know.
But they're taking on the Jets. The Jets are just a bad football team. I mean, when you let Dallas hang that number on you and their entire offensive line except one guy is out, I mean, give me a break. You can't stop anybody. You couldn't stop ODU. I mean, you're going to stop Denver? Take them down to -1 against the Jets. Denver's not going to lose against the Jets. I don't care where they're both traveling. And Denver is a good football team.
Yeah.
By the way, they held Philadelphia to 45 yards rushing. The only thing that New York's got going for them is Breece Hall. And if they can't run the ball, they're screwed. You might want to take a look at Justin Fields in that game on some props, maybe some yards rushing attempts, because he's going to be on the run for his life because Denver brings the defense. FYI. And on the other side of that, the Indianapolis Colts against the Arizona is just, it was like a gag reel. It was like a gag reel I don't even know. And last year, this team, despite talent deficiencies, played hard for their coach. We talked about it all last year. I like this coach. Look, Kyler Murray is not a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Agreed.
He's not. I mean, he put him as a scat back. You can use him. He's elusive. He can get loose, this, that, and the other. But there's two teams that are on the radar screen for anybody that's playing the home game called handicapping the NFL. If you want to play along with Griffin and I during the week, if you don't have your eyeballs on Tampa Bay and Indianapolis in the NFL, there's something wrong with you. And on the Vegas Beat Show, I do every Monday with Scott Spreitzer. He said, I presented this question to him, Griffin. Who do you believe more in right now, Tampa Bay or Indy? And he said Indy. And they're 1 and 1A, but I believe a little bit more than Tampa Bay than I do Indy because Indy's schedule, but Indy could be unbeaten because that game against the Rams that I had a 7-unit playing the Rams, they won that with a minute left in the game on an 88-yard busted coverage play that Stafford threw. And bear in mind that Indianapolis had a 68-yard run called back on a penalty, and the guy did an Arizona thing. He ran the ball down to the goal line and let go of the ball before it goes through the end zone, or they'd have had a touchdown. That would have been the difference in the ball game right there. 3 plays cost them that L.A. game where they outplayed a very good Rams team. The Rams at home are no joke. They were Thursday night last week, and they cost a lot of people a lot of money. But at the end of the day, Indianapolis -1.5 at home, the way they can run Taylor, give it to me. Give it to me, Griff. This week, we have a big play in college football. We have a 6-unit play in the NFL. We're going to have multiple game cards. We're going to win you some money. You can get a free $60 over at DocSports.com. The link in the description is above my forehead. And you can get a free $60. Any new account comes with a profit guarantee. Be sure and get over to the website and check out all the action. Griff, it's early in the week yet. This is Wednesday, but what's shaking out for Griffin Murphy?
Today, first and foremost, I have my WNBA 8-unit game of the year. Currently 9-1 in my last 10 top plays, graded 7 units or higher. So that play goes off in the finals tonight at 8 p.m. Rolling into this weekend, last weekend coming off of
when I text you this morning who you were taking in the WNBA after I put my play up, you told me who you were taking.
Yeah.
You failed to mention it was an 8-unit.
Well, I figured you checked the board. I thought that.
No, I don't look to see what anybody else is doing.
I know, man. I know, but you know it. That's the 8-unit. It's locked. It's loaded. We're ready to go on that one. But going into football last week, coming off a perfect 4-0 sweep, everybody knows I don't play a lot of plays when it comes to football selections. I look for the winners, and that's it. Plain and simple. I do not like putting in that L on my spreadsheets every single morning. I like the W. So I've been very calm and collective with my football this season. I'm 19-8 on the year. College football 11-4 this season. NFL 8-4 this season. So we're having a hell of a year, up over $4,500 in profit. This week, we're not changing anything. We're not going to fix what's not broken. I already have my 7-unit circled up. Goes off Saturday, noon Eastern time, part of a 2-play card. That'll be rolled into Sunday. 6-unit best bet goes off at 1 p.m. Eastern time, part of a 2-play card. Looking for another 4-0 sweep. I went 3-1 last week, 4-0 this most previous weekend. Looking to maintain this run because we are absolutely flying, and I'm seeing the board real well, Tony.
There you go, DocSports.com. That's the place to be. And how about a 10% off?
Whiskey 10, baby.
10. Whiskey 10 right there. Any package in football from Griffin Murphy and myself, you get 10% off. Daily pack, a weekly package, weekend package, monthly, yearly, Whiskey 10. I don't have my bottle here. I should, but it's still early. But Whiskey 10 is your promo code. That's good through Monday, noon Eastern. So be sure and type in Whiskey 10. We'll give you 10% off any package we got in football. That's for Griffin Murphy and myself. Thanks for tuning in. Back at you next week.